Hey everyone, welcome to this new video. In this one, we'll be looking at how you can create this animation inside Unreal Engine using the new motion design tools. We'll be looking at how to use effectors, how to light the shots, and how to set up your camera. Before we move on, I would really appreciate if you guys subscribe to the channel and like my content. It really helps me to make more content and share whatever I learn. So without further ado, let's dive in. Alright, so when you are in Unreal Engine, just make sure you go to Edit, Plugins, and type in Motion Graphics, Motion Design. And so make sure you have Motion Design plugin checked. So it will have all the tools needed, and you just need to restart the engine and you should have all the tools for motion design. Alright, once the engine has restarted, you can go into this tab over here and click Motion Design. It will create all the necessary tools you need for it. And the very first thing I'll do is actually set this to our cinematic viewport, and this would be our default viewport, which will be used to control all the assets needed. We can go ahead and bring in our assets. Alright, so let's create some folders to keep things organized. I'll right click, say new folder, let's call this assets. And then I will create a sequence folder, and then I'll create a level folder, and let's also create a material folder. Alright, so next we will start bringing in our assets. We'll right click, say import game assets, and I have all these Keycap model which I downloaded from the internet. I will link in the description where you can find these models. So we're just going to click on the first one and the second one and say open, and it will give it this pop-up. We'll say import all, and then the engine will start importing all those meshes. So let's also bring in our textures. So I'm going to right click, say import game, and I have all this texture set over here which I'm just gonna bring it. Alright, then let's go into our content. We'll go to the asset we brought in, and then there's a material instance in there, keycaps. So if you open that, we can start assigning some textures to it. So we'll go to content again, we'll go to our material folder, and the very first thing I need is the base color. And actually I just need two things from here, the base color and the roughness, and that should do it. Now let's plug in our base color to base color, and then the roughness will go into the roughness, and that's all pretty much for the material. We'll just save that. So that material would get assigned to all the assets currently we have in our content manager. Alright, so the first shot will be tried to recreate is this guy over here. We will populate the MoGraph with all these keycaps and just do a general wave effector effect in there. So let's dive into it and see how we can create this one. So I'm going to be using cloner actor over here. So we'll just drop that into our scene. So that creates a cube over here. Alright, let's fix the orientation on this. We'll click on that and then let's say 0. And now we need to replace these cubes with our keycaps. So we can just drag in and drop that into our cloner actor, so it will replace those keys. The scale is pretty off, so let's do that 0.2, and you can see we have started replacing those cubes with our keycaps. So let's just do that for all of it. I will just fast forward this section. Alright, let's also delete the cube we have in there. So we'll select the default cube, press delete and delete that. You can see we have our keycaps, but we want them more laid out, right? So just gonna select the cloner actor, and then you have a bunch of options over here. So first, what we want to do is reduce this Z. So I just want 2 rows, and I want to increase the X count. So let's go for 30 and 30. So now we have a more laid out pattern, right, like this. But you can see there's a repeated pattern in there. So what we want to do is randomize the keycaps of how they are being placed inside this actor. So we'll go into our mesh render mode and then select random. So now you can see it is more randomized now. They're also kind of sticking to each other, so let's increase the spacing between them. So we have this X parameter over here which you can change, and I think I just need a little bit more in Y and a little bit more in X, just like that. We'll tweak them further of how we set up our camera and lighting, but for now it's good. Okay, let's start creating our effector. We're going to select the cloner, and then you have a button over here called spawn linked effector. It's very important for the effector to be linked to this cloner actor. And if you select the effector, we have a bunch of options over here. So what you want to do is first change the type to sphere to unbound, because we want to affect the whole grid. And then you have mode. So let's change that to noise field. So that unlocks a few parameters over here. So first is the location, which is like how high you want this wave to go. So let's go that 50 for now. And as soon as we do that, you can see we are affecting our grid. By controlling this parameter, you can increase how much height you want the waves to be in. So for now, I think 50 is good. Next, what we will do is we will change our pan. So if you put 1 1 1 in all of these fields, you can see we are now animating our waves. So the pan is basically the speed. So if I go back to the effector, so if you increase that in X, so if you say X10, it will go in higher speed in X. So this is good for now. What I would like to do is actually increase because we are going for a really wide shot, right? So let's increase the number of actors right now. So let's go into our cloner and I'll go 50. Let's go 50. Oops. And 50 in Y as well. But that's the beauty of Unreal, right? There's so much high density mesh and key into this scene, but still it's so responsive. Okay, let's now set up our camera, our outliner, place actor tab, and drop in a cine camera actor. And this viewport is gonna be my camera viewport. So let's back it up a little bit, and we're just gonna create a wide shot over here, something like that. And I'll go into the camera and I'll change a few things. I want it to be a wide shot, so let's just do maybe 15 as a focal length, and that's pretty much okay actually. Okay, let's start with lighting. So what we're gonna do is delete all the lights we have right now. So I'm just gonna select all these stuff and say delete, and also delete the atmospheric fog. So now I'm starting with a blank scene, right? Now let's drop in our HDRI backdrop. So we'll go into place actors tab and I'll drop in an HDRI backdrop. HDRI is a great place to start your lighting with, because it gives you nice fill and you can then control the key light however you want. Right, so I'll bring in my HDR, we'll right click and say import to game. And I have this art probe HDR over here, we can bring them. So you select your HDRI backdrop actor and then we're just going to replace that HDR over there. It feels a little bright right now, so I'm going to select my HDR and let's just reduce to 0.152. So we just want a little hint of the HDR, right? And then we're going to add another light for our key. Let's also try rotating the HDRI. So we can select the HDRI backdrop and then start rotating in A, so that we get a little bit of that window feel, right? So the light is coming through the window. The keycaps are going a little too high. So let's select the cloner actor and I'm just going to select the effector and I'm going to reduce that to, let's say, 30. That looks much better. And I think the spacing is a little too much. So we'll go into cloner and just reduce that spacing. So they are kind of like sticking a little bit more with each other, right? So we get a little bit more continuous feel of the waves. Well, let's drop in a key light. So we're just gonna go to place actor and then we're gonna drop in a rectangle light. Let's make it somewhere over there. Let's increase the attenuation so that's affecting the entire grid, and let's increase the intensity on it. So we just get a little feel of a key light of some sort coming from that direction, right? And if you turn that off and on, you can see that key light kind of makes a difference, right? And that's pretty much it for lighting and setting up the scene. To render this, we'll click on this button over here, say add level sequence, and then we will name this first shot. Just save and it'll create a sequence. And let's drag in our cine camera actor. We're not going to be animating the camera, so we can just leave the way it is. We can click on this render movie button. We'll click on this unset config and click on this preset button and then load our preset. I will link this preset in the description so you guys can download, and it has all the console variables I normally use. We'll select the proper folder for this. So let's Unreal. So we are all set, and now you can just hit render local and it will start rendering. Alright, next we will recreate this shot over here, which is just a different application of the effector. So we're going to be using the same grid, so we will just go into file and then save current level as, and I'm gonna call is the close-up shot. So we will click our cloner actor and then go here and say spawn link effector. So we're going to create another effector, and what we want to do is first we will increase the height of these waves. So let's select our first effector and let's go maybe 80, and then we will select our second effector and then change the type to unbound, and we will check on orientation force field enable, and that would alter the orientation of these keycaps. The speed is a little too much right now, so what we can do is actually reduce the orientation force rate. So I'm just gonna go 0.5. Also, we can see over here that our waves is going in as well, so we don't want that to be moving, right? So we're gonna select our first effector and then make this pan 0, so that it's just the orientation which is getting affected. Next we will change few things in the camera. So we'll select the camera. So from a wide shot I'm gonna go to a nice portrait lens, so we're gonna go 50 over there, and that will give us a nice depth of field. Make sure your aperture is low, so mine is at 0.72. I'm just gonna move the camera and pick a interesting spot to focus on with some foreground keycaps as well over there. And we'll also make sure we have our focus right. So I'm just gonna go into my lens settings and then click on this sample focus button and make sure I'm sampling that area, right? Okay, let's light this shot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete my HDRI. For this one I'm gonna be going in with a very high contrast shot. So I'm gonna delete the light, the HDRI backdrop, and we're just gonna use the area light we have and just play around with that, right? So let's bring it somewhere over there. Just want a nice focus area. This one is gonna be a little smaller, and let's increase the intensity for that. I want my eyes to go at that area, right? So it's gonna do something like that. Let's create some really high contrast area over there, and maybe it's a little too much, so let's reduce that. So now we need a little bit more depth to the shot, so we're just gonna press Alt and drag this light. So we're gonna create a copy of that, and let's increase the attenuation on this so we can see a little bit more in the depth, something like that. And we're gonna create another copy and then do similar for the front. We just want a hint of it, we don't want too much, right? So it's okay if these ones are getting darker. Our attention is still going in, on the middle one, right? You can play around with the light, you can change the intensity, or play around with different color of different color temperature on the light and stuff like that. That's a powerful aspect of working with Unreal Engine. You can iterate pretty fast on these stuff, right? Alright, so yeah, that's how I created those shots in Unreal Engine using the motion design tools. I think it's really cool to have those real-time tools in Unreal now. If you like the video, please hit like, share and subscribe. It really helps me and motivates me to create more content like this and share whatever I learn. So yeah, that was the video. I hope you liked it, and see you in the next one. Cheers.